Good morning and welcome in. This is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel.
You are a vital part of our game.
Thank you for having me on.
All the way to the green. Woo! Boy, was that fun.
I've always wanted to be on 5 Clubs. Thanks, Gary.
Good morning. Welcome into 5 Clubs. Great to have you with us live here on a Tuesday on Golf Channel. Also PGA Tour Radio. That is Channel 92 on Sirius XM. I'm Gary Williams, and this program brought to you by Century Insurance. I've got 3 of these. I'm 3 wide this morning. Got my tea, got my Gator Lake, got my water, all because of Century, our presenting sponsor. They do business insurance. Evaluate yours with them. Plus, we appreciate not only their support of what we do, but their support of golf at large at every level with the USGA, with the First Tee, with the PGA Tour. Century Insurance, right by you. Emilia Doran's going to join us live from LA very early, proving already she's going to be a great teammate. She is now a contributor to 5 Clubs, somebody who still is a great amateur player, had a fantastic career at Wake Forest, made a run at the U.S. Women's Amateur, abandoned last summer, as well as at the U.S. Women's Mid-Amateur at Monterey Peninsula Country Club. And she was also calling golf. She'd play a match, vanquish an opponent, and then put on a mic pack and call golf. She calls all golf. She's doing PGA Tour Live this week, so she covers the PGA Tour. She just recently did the Latin America Amateur Championship. She will be part of the broadcast team for the Augusta National Women's Amateur. She has got range, and she has made our team better, not only with her view of golf, but I'll take our team and travel now that we've added Mel Reed and Emilia Doran, and you can add Gabby Herzig. We'll trot those 3 out. All of them still excellent players, and then the likes of me and Gil and Billis and everybody else. Brendan, obviously, Taylor. We'll pick up the slack or just hold up the rear because we've got ourselves another great addition to this team with Emilia Doran. And then a little bit later on, Fred Perpall, the current president of the United States Golf Association, get his thoughts on this period for the game of golf, the industry of golf, why they've sustained it. Obviously, they're in the governance side of it, but they also run so many great championships. So we'll talk to him about not only the anchor sites for the U.S. Men's Open, but also other championships as well. And of course, his path is very interesting. It was chronicled to a degree by Michael Bamberger in a book that he wrote that we had Michael on about a year ago. So Emilia Doran, Fred Perpall coming up. I'm going to give some thoughts on the West Coast swing in just a moment as we wrap it up this week. And it appears we're getting ready for change. But you know what? You know who's having a birthday? He's probably already on the 5th tee at Grove 23? Michael. Happy birthday. You know what? If you didn't think he was the GOAT, he just won the Daytona 500 on Sunday. Are you going to dispute it now? His team won it. One of his drivers won it. Little story time with Michael, speaking about his love for golf. The night after, so the morning after, he won his first NBA title. I was working at a club in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Had just begun in the apprentice program of the PGA of America. The phone rang at 7 a.m. They had cut the nets down probably right around 6, 7 hours before, maybe 8 at most. Phone rings, 7 a.m. It's him. And he says, I said my name into the phone, and he said, Gary, what time can I play tomorrow? What's the earliest I can tee off? And I'm going, how early would you want to play? You just won your first NBA title. I didn't say that back into the phone. So he got cleared to play at 7 a.m. the next day, playing an 8-some. They played all day, every day for 4 straight days, and he insisted on playing the back tees. And at one point, I went out onto the balcony and said over to him, are you going to break 80 in this round? Yes, full snark, 23, just a complete, just incredible brat at that time. I've tried to get most, if not all, of it out of my system. And he looked at me, he said, how much money you got? At that moment, I puckered up and turned around and walked back in to the double wide, which was the shop at that time. Instead of saying, I will bet one of my checks to one of yours, you ain't breaking 80. But I didn't have the chutzpah to say that. I've had some conversations with him through the years, a few, most recently at the Ryder Cup. Just wanted to talk about golf courses. So if he's out there at the newly renovated Grove 23 that Davis and Mark Love worked on over the summer, have a great birthday. It'll probably be, who knows, maybe as many holes as he's gone around the sun in his life. Because 63 ain't hard for him, I can promise you. All right, PGA Tour's on the West Coast, and they're wrapping it up. And get a good look. Not that Riviera is going away, but it appears every indication is that Pebble Beach and Riviera for sure is going to be part of the 2027 schedule, but not in the month of February, likely in the month of August. And what is that going to mean? It's going to mean that the beginning of the year is going to be very different and that the end of the year is likely to be very different. And oh, by the way, I think everything in between is going to look not radically different, but whether it's Philly, New York, Chicago, Boston, all being added back on a regular basis because they want to be in major markets, marketing those major markets. But think about Riviera and Pebble Beach. And for those folks who love enjoying long summer days, it means you can do that. And it also means that when the day is over, you can still watch likely 90 minutes of live golf on the East Coast. So if you're out there in places like Watch Hill, Rhode Island, or who knows, Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the days are really long and they start really early, you're going to get it. And here's the other beautiful thing that's likely to happen. Long shadows at Riviera and Pebble Beach. And you don't get as much shadow at Pebble, just the ones that you create yourselves. But those eucalyptus trees down there in the Santa Monica Canyon, you're going to get those. And here's the other thing about it. Where they got a lot of rain yesterday, that ain't going to happen, not in the month of August, because that's the driest time of the year, not only in Northern California, but Southern California. So you're going to get the best players at a glorious time of the year, later in the day with long shadows and contour and texture that you can actually feel like you can see and touch on television. And most importantly, you're going to get the driest, fastest, bounciest turf conditions you can get all year, because the percentage of chances of rainfall in the month of August, not only in the Pacific Palisades, but also on the Monterey Peninsula, right around 1%. Give it to me. Give it to me, and then give it to everybody who has clamored, not because they don't love the mission and the impact of places like Eastlake and what the late Tom Cousins did. It's because that change at times is good, and rotating venues, I think, will serve the PGA Tour exceptionally well, particularly if you're appealing to great historic clubs that don't have the inclination to go, yeah, we want to do this annually. But if you knock on our door once every 4 years, maybe we'll go, smaller field, less footprint, less infrastructure. And whether it's 50, 70, 30, we might do that. And you know who benefits? 1, the players, 2, the fans, and 3, the television audience. It's happening. So enjoy Riviera, and we'll talk about it in just a couple minutes with Emilia Doran, because she is there this week after being at Pebble Beach to be on the grounds calling live golf. But when we get it, and we may get it sooner than later in terms of what this is all going to look like, Riviera and Pebble in August is a win. It's a win to know it now, and it'll be an even bigger win when we see it. When balls are bouncing off contours from 273 off that 4th tee, that new tee at Riviera, with that high right front and the low left back. Give it all to me. The ground can be your friend, and the ground is a huge friend to television, because the result is when it eventually comes to its conclusion, not to when you know it's in the air and when it lands, it's not going anywhere. That's far less interesting, and it's also far less exacting. Exacting golf produces the best champions. All right, we take a break here. When we continue, Emilia Doran, a new teammate of ours here at 5 Clubs, and she covers all golf and can still play an elite level, as she proves every time she enters a competition. A little bit later on, Fred Perpall, the president of the USGA. And before we're done, we open up the book club, 2 of them for you to make you better. We'd like to believe, because these are not really about golf, but the application of its thought and the methodology of these 2 books can be applied to golf and any other sport, including maybe, I wouldn't argue it, the best quarterback of all time thinks this is the best book as it comes to the mind and the body and performance. 12, Tom Brady. So we will do that before we're done. It's a Tuesday, live on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. Emilia Doran from LA next. Back on a Tuesday, live on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment is brought to you by Peter Millar. I actually texted the big boss, because I know he's up at 5:30, because to run the best lifestyle brand beyond golf, way beyond golf, you got to get up early because their line is the most robust in terms of what it is that you can get. And it means everything from shoes to socks to slacks to custom sport coats to this little wool, very, very light wool hoodie, not to mention this performance sport shirt underneath, this light flannel pair of trousers, which you don't have to see, but I promise you, I'm wearing them, these little gray flannels. That's it. They have it all at Peter Millar and petermillar.com. All right, joining me now, proving already that she has got more range than anybody. It doesn't matter what the event is, she'll cover it. It doesn't matter what time it is, she'll come on and talk about it. She is an elite amateur golfer. She called the winning putt from J.J. Spaun at the U.S. Open on U.S. Open Radio on Sirius XM. She'll be a part of the broadcast for the Augusta National Women's Amateur. She'll be calling golf this week for PGA Tour Live from Riviera. And oh, by the way, made a run at the U.S. Women's Amateur and then put on a mic pack and called golf. After that, she is Emilia Doran. Good morning. Thank you for getting up so early. How you doing?
Good morning, Gary. I'm doing great. The hardest thing about getting up at 5 a.m. wasn't the alarm clock. It was actually figuring out where all the lights were in the hotel, because that's the hardest thing to do, to figure out where those are in a hotel room. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, the interesting thing about stuff like this is that you're going to talk with animation, you're going to talk with your normal voice, and the person, if there's somebody in the next room, they're going, what are they doing? Nobody's talking back to her. I'm just hearing her voice. I did a radio show for 4 hours in a room in Monterey, California years ago for 4 hours. And I can't imagine what the person next to me was thinking. This guy's insane. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and he's talking to himself like he's doing a radio show. I was. All right, we're doing a radio show and a TV show now. I'm curious, I've never asked you this, as somebody who transitioned immediately to still playing elite golf, but then immediately calling golf, have you gotten better at your process as a player, watching all the processes of other players?
The short answer is yes. In fact, we could make the rest of the show about what I've learned from players in the PGA Tour and LPGA Tour, because walking alongside them 20 yards away, sometimes just a few yards away, it's unbelievable what I've learned. One of the biggest things that stood out to me early on was the different shots that they have in their bag. Scottie Scheffler at Pebble last week hits this trap draw into left to right crosswind on 18 to 2.5 feet with a 5-iron. Nelly Korda earlier this year at the Hilton Grand Vacations, the wind was blowing 30 miles an hour and she was hitting these low stingers with the driver that barely got off the ground. It's amazing what it takes to have that extra gear, to have all those shots in the bag. And that's really why players can score so well. If you have a right pin, you need to cut it and not be able to cross target and be just left of the flag. Drawing it isn't going to do you any good, especially when you're on firm greens. The other part of these elite players that fascinate me, because I don't see great shots all the time. In fact, I see mediocre shots and bad shots from the winner, but it's the way they manage their game and how important a caddy is. If everyone had a professional caddy, I truly believe player and the everyday golfer can lose 5 to 10 shots in their bag because we just sometimes don't make decisions on the golf course that are great. We want to, punch it under the trees, or we want to go to that left pin when we know we shouldn't because we're hitting hooks today. And when these players are talking with their caddy and being so specific about the number and the placement. Akshay Bhatia, who was in the final group at Pebble, he just started working with Max Homa's old caddy, Joe Greiner, gave Joe a ton of credit for getting him to that point at Pebble, ended up finishing top 10. Nelly Korda credits her caddy Jason all the time. Those are some of the things that really stick out to me, and they have truly made me better. Specifically when I'm not practicing as much, I have to manage my game better on the golf course, and these elite players are helping me do that.
Emilia, I had a conversation with Darren Clark recently about that imaginary line between, the think box and the play box, and that once you get in it, it's about the visualization of what you're trying to produce. When you were at Pebble, and you have windy conditions, and let's take Scheffler for example, maybe the process is a little bit more deliberate, but can you tell, even though it may take a little bit more time because conditions are changing, that that there is a level of commitment? Can you see an absence of commitment and total commitment from players from that imaginary line?
I can definitely see when a player is committed or not committed based on how their routine is. You can see when someone's just taking a little bit extra time going in between clubs. I would say more than commitment over the shot, because sometimes that can be hard to see, right away. You usually can notice that based on their body language or in their pre-shot routine when they're taking a long time or standing a long time over the ball. I can really see the way a player's attitude shapes their score. If they are frustrated at a bad shot and they haven't really gotten over it, it's amazing when you're on the outside looking in and seeing how a couple bogeys in a row is the result of not truly getting over that one shot that you felt like you could have hit better 3 holes ago. When you're playing yourself, you don't get to see that. Sometimes you think you're having a good attitude and you're just fighting through it and staying positive. But the reality is you're not playing freely at the moment and you can't let go of that one shot. I find that fascinating. And it's helped me when I see players who aren't able to stay composed in that one moment. Even if it's just in their head, you can kind of almost feel the tension. Or when someone is able just to, whatever, I got a plug lie, I made a double bogey. There's nothing I can control. I just got to move on to the next hole.
The Pebble week, look, there's nothing better than being there, whatever your role is, and you were calling golf. What will stand out about that week in terms of whether the way it played out? What are the things that you recall most about the way that week concluded itself?
The finish. The finish was unbelievable. Anyone could have won in the last 5 holes. It was the second week in a row where we thought Scottie Scheffler was out of the tournament. He was 8 shots back starting Sunday and then shot 63 and almost won the golf tournament. He made 3 eagles in his round and frankly could have shot 60 that day. I caught up with him on the 8th hole and was listening into my headset when he made birdie on 7 to go 7 under through 7. He had a random 3-putt on 8 and then on 12 and 15 hit 2 great shots that went over the green and just put him in tough spots. I was also so happy to see Collin Morikawa finally win after a 3-year stall. What a bonus that him and his wife, Kat, are expecting. That was a really beautiful way for them as a couple to make that announcement. Collin Morikawa's back, which I'm really excited about, especially the fact that we're coming into the Genesis where he's a hometown kid and can really use the ball striking that he's found. He hit 18 greens on Saturday to play a course like Riviera where it's not overly long, but you better hit it in the right spots. I'm looking forward to see that. And it was just really, really exciting. Minwoo Lee kind of came out, not out of nowhere, but I feel a lot of people were thinking about Scottie, Collin, Akshay Bhatia. Jacob Bridgman was playing unbelievable. Kid out of Clemson that could have had his first win on the PGA Tour. And Collin Morikawa won it. And it ended up being a beautiful day on Sunday, which was a bonus for the players, the fans, and the viewing experience.
You mentioned Riviera. So not only are you going from Northern California to Southern California, unfortunately, they've also been dealing with rain, so the golf course is soft right now. Don't know if they'll ever, by the end of the week, be in a position where it's legitimately firm or not. But beside that, when you look at this golf course, not only the turf conditions as well, what are the things that stand out as far as this examination? Because, look, they all love it. Why do they love it?
The players talk about how it's a really neat old school design. The fact that you can get in trouble at Riviera, but there's no water, no penalty area, I find the mark of a great golf course. The fact that the greens are softer, it will play a little bit easier, but it's also just has so many neat designs. I'm looking forward to seeing how the players continue to play the 10th hole, and based on a hole location, it can play from one of the easiest holes to one of the most difficult. The 10th is the most, you can really see that with the front left pin being really easy, and then you put it back right, and all of a sudden, so many players are making double bogey. You better be on that left side or it will put you in trouble. The way the greens are shaped, small and undulated, the bunkers are so well positioned. The mark of a great golf course, and the fact that it's just this beautiful, neat little design in the middle of LA is pretty fascinating.
You were recently in Peru. You were part of the broadcast team for the Latin America Amateur Championship. You know what it's like to compete in Peru. You won a gold medal in the Pan American Games there. I'm curious, in that time, and you bring together this collection of players from that part of the world, give people a sense of the interest level and the passion specifically there, but among the nations represented about golf in that part of the world?
It's growing. Golf is growing in South America, and it rode at the Latin America Amateur Championship when I was there earlier this year. And in 2019, when I competed in the Pan American Games in Peru, a month ago, there were a few hundred people on the 18th green watching Matteo Pulcini and Virgilio Paz Valdez have an incredible finish to then have a fantastic 2-hole playoff that required unbelievable shots out of the trees, making 15, 20 footers. What makes golf grow in an area where it wasn't initially popular is do really give a ton of credit to Augusta National, USGA, and the RNA, because they've established this championship that they've made all the elite players come to, and you're playing for the biggest achievement in golf, getting to play in the Masters, the US Open, and the Open Championship. I was nervous on the last day following players because you know how much it means to them. You can see it just in the way they're taking longer over certain shots. I've never seen more 3-putts from 20 feet from unbelievable talent. And it's truly because of what those nerves can do to you when you have something like the Masters tournament on the line. It also creates champions. And we saw that earlier in January from Matteo Pulcini, and we'll continue to see that. Joaquin Niemann continues to have a huge influence in that area. So many people were reflecting on his win in 2018 in his home country in Chile, and I'm excited for the next stars to continue to unfold there.
Before I let you go, and we'll have you on before the Augusta National Women's Amateur, being a part of that broadcast, I know you're excited about that, but you also were somebody who competed in it. What's the biggest challenge for this field? They know they're in the event, and you've got this opportunity to play at Augusta National. You're going to play either way, whether getting the practice round between, that second round and the final round, or being in that final round. So it's out there. It's out there as a competitor, but you have to prepare for 2 golf courses. What was your biggest challenge as somebody trying to get ready while not trying to be distracted by what you knew you had in front of you?
The biggest challenge, Gary, is that top 30 in ties. There are leaderboards everywhere on the golf course. It's such a privilege that we all get to play on Friday. Every single player, though, wants to be in the top 30 that get to compete on Saturday. It is so stressful because it's all the best in the world. So the scoreboard is extremely tight. You can make a birdie and jump 4 spots on the leaderboard. You make a bogey, you jump 20 spots down. My 2 of the times out of the 3 when I made the cut, I had to make at least 1 birdie to make the cut on the number. So I have firsthand experience of how stressful that is. And then you get to Augusta and you have 1 practice round. You're so starstruck with the tradition, the beauty of the golf course, walking the fairways. For a lot of players, it's the first time ever. And it's hard to focus. I found that even competing on Saturday, you're trying to make decisions on the golf course and you're just trying to not screw up. So all in all, it's really a mental battle with yourself. On Champions Retreat, a very difficult track to focus on what's in front of you, on just playing the course and making good decisions. And then you get to Augusta National and it's just trying to zone in on the shot, and then you can take in the scenery and the beauty and the history, but you can't do that over the ball. Otherwise it's not going to go straight. It's going to be really exciting. I'm honored to call the Augusta National Women's Amateur for Golf Channel and NBC on Saturday. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the tournament unfolds, because it's been very exciting all the years prior.
Well, we're thrilled that you're going to be sharing your view of all these different, not only levels, but championships in golf, from amateur golf, college golf, professional golf, because you have so many work assignments covering all of them. Thank you for getting up early. Have a great week in LA, and we look forward to having you in studio, hopefully the next time and before the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
All right, there is Emilia Doran. Again, she'll be part of PGA Tour Live's coverage this week of the Genesis. And of course, she has assignments covering, like I said, all these great championships in men's and women's golf, professionally and the amateur side as well. We take a break. Speaking of professional and amateur, they manage, operate these great championships. That is the USGA. Their president, Fred Perpall, is going to join me. A couple weeks left in his tenure as the president. Their annual meeting coming up next week in New York, where they will announce and elect their new president. His thoughts in reflection on his term, and also where golf finds itself right now, why and where next. He joins me on a Tuesday, 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, and also PGA Tour Radio. You know that, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. We're back right after this. Back in on this Tuesday on 5 Clubs Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92, Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Century Insurance. Business insurance is what they do. Evaluate yours with them. They want to be right by you, and appropriately, they are right by the USGA because they are a proud partner with them, contributing and investing in the game of golf like they do here, but also with them at the PGA Tour, the First Tee. And the president of the USGA joins me now as he wraps up his term. But it's not only his time as being the president, but also the additional years serving the organization and the association. He is Fred Perpall. It's nice to see you this morning. I mentioned Century. I could have said Peter Millar. You got to have great partners. You're Natalie clad always. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful, Gary. Thanks for having me on. And yes, we love all of our great partners, Century, particularly our folks at Peter Millar that keeps us looking sharp. So thanks to you for having us on. And it's wonderful to be able to talk to the world of golf this morning.
Well, it's great to talk to you as you are getting ready to put this chapter, officially in the rearview mirror, but it doesn't mean you're going to divest yourself of doing all you can, not only for the USGA, but like you said, for the game at large. I want to start with your view of things when it began, when you said, I'm going to invest the most precious thing I've got, which is time. What was your view of the game then? And as you look at it now, how much is advanced? Because we're going to talk about some numbers that are very encouraging, very positive. But how has your view of the game changed in this time?
Well, Gary, thank you for that. You've heard my story, and many folks have heard my story. Long before I was a golfer, golf was changing my life. In my hometown, where I grew up in Nassau, a group of golfers, at a country club my mother worked at, literally gave me a scholarship to help me go to college. So long before I picked up a golf club, golf was changing my life. And imagine, how that's changed my life. And so it's been an honor and a privilege as a relatively new golfer to be able to serve golf at its highest level. And, so many of my friends who play golf, who've grown up playing golf, they see golf and they take a little bit for granted how special this game is. But, having been a new entrant into the game, I started playing 12, 13 years ago. I see firsthand how this game changes your life, and what a gift it's been for me, this beautiful game of golf. And it's been an honor and a privilege to be able to serve, particularly as golf navigates, such a tricky moment where many new people are joining the game. We have a lot of, change and, innovation going on in the game. So I've been able to see all of that firsthand, and it's been a kind of privilege to be able to serve during this time while we have so many opportunities.
It was literally around this time, we're approaching that anniversary when it felt like the whole world kind of caved in on what was March 13th. And as we approach that day, as the days unfolded immediately after that, and really weeks and months, what people found in golf was a combination of convenience and practical dynamics that allowed them to use golf, whether it be for the first time or more so. And what has happened is that many of those people have stuck around, invested more time, more money into it. Why do you think that the mechanisms that were in place allowed people to expose themselves to it and they stuck around? Why did all that happen?
Yeah, well, Gary, the numbers are really, they're phenomenal when you think about it. According to the National Golf, Foundation, we have almost 49 million Americans that would view themselves or call themselves golfers today. That's up almost 20 million, going into COVID. So 20 million people have joined the game of golf in the last 5 or 6 years. And, that's a fantastic statistic. And the reality of those numbers is almost 50% of those folks are juniors, women, and people of color. So the very people we've been asking to come to the game of golf have shown up. And I do think COVID gave people the time and the space to actually put a premium on their time outdoors. It gave us a safe way to be together. I mean, what we love most about golf is who golf puts us with and the friendships and the intimacy that it creates. And I do feel like, folks have experienced that firsthand, and it is a very attractive way to spend your free time. I also feel like, many, folks have seen, their friends show up in the game, so they've gotten golf curious. I think things like Top Golf and other alternative ways of off-site golf has made, the golf curious. It's given them a lower bar of entry to actually experiment with the game. And you and I both know the first time we've hit a club square in the face, the exhilaration you feel, you get hooked. So I think all of these things, COVID, off-site golf, the time, remote work, all of these things have given people more time to actually experiment and experience with the game. And they've found what we already knew, that the quality of your life can be greatly improved by the quality of this game. And so I'm just so optimistic because I know of nothing in our country, not our churches, not our businesses, not our universities, not our schools. Nothing gives Americans the time to actually come together the way golf does. And we are better as a country when we're together. And so I have this, crazy, idea that, building a more inclusive and a bigger game of golf not only improves the game, but it has the potential to improve our country and to improve our lives. And that's what makes, all of us at the USGA so excited today about the trajectory that golf is on.
It's interesting you mentioned these non-green grass experiences, and practically, I'm so glad that those are being accrued and counted. Those are forms of golf, but it's also, Fred, it's a nice, less, I think, intimidating incubator for people to try it with friends. There's much more of a social component. My question is, what are the things that are most effective to take that experience and then walk them into what is the more traditional experience of golf. Are we finding new methods to take that person and say, no, don't just stay here or don't turn your back, take another step? What are we doing?
Yeah, well, the numbers are proving that out too, Gary. So almost 50% of people that enter the game of golf through the non-traditional offsite golf are actually migrating to traditional golf. So to your point, the numbers actually prove out that once people get golf curious, they get on their journey. I used to say, because coming into the game of golf, I entered golf in my mid-30s. I was already a very accomplished, businessman. And even for me, having accomplished so much in my career, it was still intimidating. Golf's got its own language. We've got our dress code, we've got our traditions. And for people that did not grow up, it's pretty intimidating. So these non-traditional forms give you this wonderful way to experiment. And I say to all of us who are very golf, sort of intelligent, that we need to put our arms around those folks and walk them down the path, not because we feel traditional golf is superior to non-traditional golf, but we know that your life can be enhanced greatly by the time and space that green grass golf gives you. So we do see people moving, from offsite golf to traditional golf in very high numbers. More than 50% of folks are moving that way. And I do think things like building, these small places to play, driving ranges, putts, chipping areas, adjacent to these offsite courses, give people the opportunity to kind of migrate. And we need to keep preaching the gospel of what traditional golf, gives you. The values, the competitiveness, the time, the space, all the things you learn, from playing, traditional golf. And we need to keep, showing folks that this is actually a game that is absolutely a game for them. And, I'm encouraged by all the things that the USGA is working on to continue to attract, non-traditional audiences to the game, because the bigger we build this game, the better the game will be.
The anchor site concept, which we are now getting ready to have our third straight year of an anchor site hosting the U.S. Open. Look, you can't replicate what Pinehurst gives you with the Cradle being turned into a 360 cathedral of preparation for the best players in the world, in the Village, and converting Maniac Hill into a place for people to congregate. And then you go to Oakmont, I'm going, well, what could they possibly do there with a range that was antiquated? No, you figured that out. And Shinnecock has a different challenging footprint. What have you learned? Because this has been, during your tenure as the president, about the essential ingredients for anchor sites to be the right answer to the rotation for this championship.
Well, I'm so proud of the USGA, and much credit goes to John Bodenhammer, our Chief Championships Officer, my predecessor, Stu Francis, who was the president when we went down this path. I, of course, was championship chair. And to all of our teammates at the USGA who really supports this. The U.S. Open, we feel like it has its unique identity. And yet, having a consistent approach to where we take this championship gives us the opportunity to go much deeper in fewer places. And all of us know who, run organizations that, so often we get, the most out of being very filtered and focused, because that clarity creates confidence. And each championship site has its own set of opportunities. You talk about Pinehurst. We're going to Pinehurst 10 more times over the next, coming 20 years. So not only U.S. Opens, we're taking many more championships. So we can invest deeper in those sites because we know we keep coming back, and we can amortize those investments over much more championships. Every site has its own opportunities, and we're so excited. One of the things I love about the U.S. Open strategy now is we want to accentuate the qualities of those sites. And there's not a cookie cutter approach to the U.S. Open. We're not chasing a score or chasing a particular type of setup. This gives us an opportunity to actually highlight that architect. So we go to Pinehurst. We want to highlight all that is unique and good about Pinehurst number 2. and Donald Ross's architecture and put that on stage. We go to Oakmont. We want Oakmont. The members say you can show up on any Thursday and it could be a U.S. Open that breaks out at Oakmont. So each site, each of these anchor sites give us an opportunity to invest deeper, to put more permanent infrastructure in place, and to actually increase the quality. Because, at the top of our strategy really is the player's experience. And you will see at Pebble Beach in 2027, at Shinnecock this year, you will see two very different approaches to quality U.S. Opens. But I think at the core, you will still see the U.S. Open strategy, which is, meant to be golf's greatest championships on America's greatest sites. And it's the toughest test in golf. And it's the most open championship. It doesn't matter where you come from, what the color of your skin is, who your parents were, what the shirt is on your back. If you can get the golf ball in the hole efficiently, you can play in U.S. Opens. And we want you to use all 14 clubs in your bag, and also the 15th one, the one between your ears. So the U.S. Open is meant, to be a challenge. And we believe by going to fewer places more consistently, we can learn those sites better, and we can actually increase the quality and showcase, what we believe to be a inherently American championship, one that is full of merit and open to all.
Last thing, the development program, huge fan, big believer that it should have come to pass. It has. Just a quick thought on how you will measure the effectiveness of this program for the future generations. How much time do you need? Is it 3 years, 5 years, 10 years to say the way that we're approaching this is the most effective way?
I'm so excited about what we're doing at the USNDP and having a national program. It's interesting, if you look at the tours, both PGA Tour, LPGA, most of the international players that compete on those tours come from a national development program, all but the Americans. And much credit to Mike Wanitz, our CEO, walked in day one and he said, this is something we have to solve. And I give Mike a lot of credit, and also Heather Daly Don DeFrio, who's leading this program for us. This year, over 500 athletes will be impacted by this USNDP. One should not have to mortgage your house, like Tiger described, to actually raise an elite golfer. And the reality is, Americans have so much resources. We almost represent 50% of all that play golf. And we have the resources to actually invest in our amateurs, particularly the elite ones who can play good golf. And not all of them come from homes and backgrounds that can afford that kind of investment. I mean, just think about the amount of resources that it takes to raise an elite golfer. And one of my favorite stories, last year at the annual meeting, we met a young man whose father was a youth pastor, and they had immigrated from South Africa. And this young man is an extraordinary golfer, and he's 17. But as a youth pastor and mom who stays at home, they probably don't have the funds to travel around to all of the junior championships, to invest in coaching, to even have a place to play. And so this young man received a $10,000 grant from the USGA through our USNDP grant program. And 50 other kids also receive these grants every year, and others at a lower level depending on need. And we believe it's inherently American that based on merit, you get to continue to pursue this journey up the elite path of golf. And I think over some time, what you will see is more elite golfers that come from all backgrounds. And we're very proud of this. This is not, based on anything other than your ability to actually play elite golf. And, much credit to Mike Warren, our CEO, who sort of came in. But this access to coaching, this access to opportunity, this access to playing and competing is something that I believe every kid who can play at that level ought to have. And we're very proud that we can give this gift of elite golf to those that are able to play it.
Fred, thank you for carving out the time. I look forward to seeing you next week. Appreciate it very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary, and thanks for all that you do for the game of golf.
There is Fred Perpall, president of the USGA. Those are winning words presented by Century Insurance. We come back, wrap it up right after this. A little book club to wrap it up. Appreciate Peter Millar, as always, for their support and for outfitting me. For 16 years now, they are the brand when it comes to anything that you wear in your life. I have two books for you. That's how important these two are, because it's that time of the year where maybe you're not playing much golf. This book right here, The Inner Game of Tennis, is a book that Tom Brady believes is as good a book as there is when it comes to understanding performance and how the body and the mind have to work together. And the fact is that the mind can override the body, and that's essentially what undermines performance. And the things you can do, but this obviously written by Timothy Galway was written 50 years ago. Doesn't matter. It's an amazing book. This book, The War of Art, this book is really about the challenges that come with writing, the creative process. But I'm going to read you something that speaks directly to what I think transpired with Rory McIlroy at the end of the Masters. The danger is greatest when the finish line is in sight. At this point, resistance knows we're about to beat it. It hits the panic button. It marshals one last assault and slams us with everything it's got. The professional must be alert for this counterattack. Don't open the bag of wind. This book is great about resistance and how that is self-sabotage. These two books can be applied to your game or whatever it is that you want to be better at in terms of your own performance. The War of Art in the Inner Game of Tennis. Tomorrow, Gabby Herzig, Gil Hanse with the new design of Spanish Bay. We'll see you then.